We give our hearts to people. And often, although we give our heart to so many things, somehow or other, it never seems to be reciprocated fully. We give our love, but we never seem to receive that love back. The king gave his heart to the queen, but she didn't reciprocate. The queen gave her heart to the charioteer, but he didn't reciprocate. The charioteer gave his heart to the mistress, but she didn't reciprocate. And the mistress gave her heart to the king, and he was aghast. This name, Vasudevaya, is very beautiful because it's the name of the divine, which means all-pervading. All-pervading means the divine is everywhere, in all places, at all times. Sometimes people think to connect with the divine, you have to be in a particular place, or you have to be with a particular person, or there has to be a particular situation, and then you can have a divine experience. But Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya means I offer my respect to that divinity which is present at all times, places, and circumstances, providing we have the consciousness to connect. So would you like to connect with divinity at all times, places, and circumstances? Wouldn't that be beautiful? So by chanting these mantras and elevating our consciousness, that's very much possible. So thank you everyone so much for coming this evening. Chitraleka asked me to share some words with you. She said, tell a story. They like stories. So I'll try to share a story with you this evening. But what we're doing here is actually a very, very beautiful thing. This is actually sacred culture. My parents were from India. And in India, the culture is that every evening, it doesn't matter who you are, what you do, what happened during the day. In the evening, what happens is everyone in the village comes together and they sit together like this in a circle. And together they sing, together they discuss, together they begin to see life through the ancient books of wisdom, and in that way they begin to see how even in the ups and downs and the difficulties and the twists and turns of life, there's always something beautiful that divinity is giving us. And in this way they go to bed with a peaceful mind and they have a good night's sleep. So I'm sure tonight you'll have a good night's sleep. But before you do go to sleep, we'll share a few things with you. The land of India is known as Bharat. This is the Sanskrit word for India. And it's made up of 3 syllables. Bha means bhav, which means emotion. Ra means rag, which means melody. And ta means tal, which means beat. So the Sanskrit name for India, Bharata, literally means the land where emotion is expressed through melodies, beats, and mantras. So India is the land of music, the land of wisdom, the land of storytelling. And so today I want to tell you an ancient story from 2,000 years ago of a king. And this king's name was Bhartṛhari. Now in ancient India, kings weren't just kings, powerful politicians, but kings were known as Raja. So Raja means a king, but kings were known as Raja Rishis. So a Rishi means a great thinker. So the kings, they weren't just political figures, but they were great thinkers as well. They were very wise, they were very philosophical, they were very deep. So this king, his name was Bhartṛhari, and throughout his life, he liked to write. many, many works of poetry. But he wrote 3 works of poetry which became very, very famous. These 3 works of poetry were known as satakams. Satakams means poetry of 100 verses. The first satakam that he wrote was called Niti Satakam, which means the 100 verses of logic. He went on in his life throughout many years. The second satakam that he wrote was called the Sringara Satakam, which means the 100 verses of heart-throbbing beauty. And then his life went on, and his final satakam was known as Vairagya Satakam, the 100 verses of detachment. Immediately you can begin to see there's a pattern here. He started with logic, then he saw heart-throbbing beauty, and eventually he came to the point of detachment. Do you want to know the story of Bhartṛhari? Bhartṛhari was a very powerful king, and he said he had many, many beautiful people around him. And of all the beautiful people around him, there was one beautiful person who he had given his heart to. And her name was Pingala. She was very beautiful. She was very charming. She was well-spoken. Her character was incredible. And he had given his heart, mind, and his entire life to her. He had basically fallen for her hook, line, and sinker. And so Bhartṛhari had loved his wife Pingala, and together they lived in the kingdom. And as a king, every single day he used to see so many things in the world. And through his experiences, he realized there are ways in which we can navigate this world which allow us to achieve more. He realized what's the best way of dealing with people, what's the best way of dealing with situations, what's the best way of solving problems and obstacles when they come up. And therefore he wrote a poem, Niti Satakam, in which he talked about logic and how to navigate this world in a very, very beautiful way. So he gave so many verses of wisdom. In today's terminology, we would call it life hacks. So it was a poetry book in which he told us how to win friends and influence people. The 7 habits of highly successful people. That was the ancient version, the Niti Satakam. So he wrote that book. He was very happy. And as time went by, he spent more and more time with Pingala. As time went by, he became more and more, less and less concerned with the kingdom, and he spent more and more time with his wife. And so he wrote another poem as he began spending more and more time with his wife. And that poem became known as the Sringara Satakam. And there he glorified the beauty of his wife. And when she speaks, her words are like flowing river. And when she walks, it seems as though her feet do not even touch the ground. And when she smiles, it makes the shining sun look dim. He did better than me, but you get my point. It was very Shakespearean, Romeo and Juliet. It was nice. So in this poem, he described the beauty, the attractiveness, and how his wife had enchanted and conquered his heart. So he was very happy. Maybe she's calling. And then what happened one day is a great sage from the Himalayas came to the kingdom. And when the great sage came, then in spiritual culture, any saintly person was treated with great respect. And so Bhartṛhari, the king, he treated this sage with great respect. And the sage was so pleased by his service that one day he called Bhartṛhari to his cave. And he said, "You've served me and respected me and honored me in such a beautiful way. And in this life, whenever someone does something for you, you have to give something back to show your gratitude." He told the king, "If you're not grateful, you're a great fool." He didn't quite say that, but in that kind of terminology. So the king was waiting there, and he was very happy to receive a gift from the sage. And so he was waiting to see, what gift will the sage give me? And then the sage opened one of his cupboards, and from his cupboard, he brought out a fruit. And he said, "This is for you." Like, a fruit? I'm a king. I eat every single day fruits. Is that what you're going to give me? He didn't say that, but in his mind, he was thinking that. Like, a fruit? I was expecting a bit more than that. And the sage said, "This is a very, very special fruit. This is the fruit of immortality. And whoever consumes this fruit, they will not experience any disease, old age, or death. This is my gift to you." And so Bhartṛhari took that fruit. And as he was walking back to his palace, he was thinking, what shall I do with this fruit? Naturally, he thought, I'll take it. But then he thought, I'll be immortal, but Pingala will die. And one day Pingala will die. And what's the use of being immortal if I won't be with Pingala? To see her die, that will be the most painful thing in my life. And therefore he said, there's only one solution. I won't take the fruit myself. I'll give the fruit to Pingala. So the next morning he called his queen in, Pingala. And he said, "Pingala, we've been together for so many years. We've exchanged so much love. We have so much of a connection between us. And I want to give you something." So Pingala was waiting. And then the king opened the cupboard and he pulled out a fruit. She was thinking, a fruit? I mean, I thought it would be diamonds or, like some kind of jewelry or something, a fruit. And then the king said, no, it's no ordinary fruit. It's the fruit of immortality. I want that you should live together forever. I want that we should be able to exchange love together for the rest of our lives. And so Pingala went away with that fruit. And as Pingala was going away, she was thinking about that fruit. And then she was thinking, should I take this fruit? But then she had another thought, because every single day Pingala would go out into the forest for some sightseeing. Because the king was busy and he was busy in his affairs of managing the kingdom, so she would have to keep herself entertained. So every single day she would go into the forest and go for different adventures to see different places. And every single day a charioteer used to take her out. Secretly, she developed an attraction for that charioteer. And so, when she received the fruit of immortality, she was thinking, I could take it, but I should give it to the one who I've given my heart to. And I've given my heart to that charioteer. So she called the charioteer. And then she said, I want to give you something. The charioteer was very poor. He didn't have much. And so he was thinking, after all my years of service, now she will reward me with something amazing. She said, I want to give you something. And from the cupboard, she brought out a fruit. And he said, a fruit? I thought you were going to give me something valuable that was going to solve all my problems in life. And then she said, no, it's no ordinary fruit. It's the fruit of immortality. If you eat this, you'll live forever. Wow. Now, as he walked away, he was thinking what to do with it. You can see where this is going. So he used to visit one lady every evening. He had his own mistress. And so eventually, the very next day, he went to this mistress. And he said, I want to give you something. So he pulled out the fruit. And again, she was like, a fruit? And then he explained to her, no, it's the fruit of immortality. So she was like, wow. So now something very interesting happened, because as the mistress took away the fruit of immortality, all her life she had her heart set on one person. But she thought, this person, he is way out of my league. He's so powerful. He's so rich. He's so influential. He's so popular. He has everything. He's conquered all the lands. Why would he ever be interested in me? But now I have something that even the richest person doesn't have. And therefore, she began walking to the palace. And she said, I demand to see the king. He's going, who are you? You're just some. No, I have something that even the king doesn't have. What could you possibly have? No, give me an audience with the king. So she came in front of King Bhartṛhari. And she said, I've always wanted to be with you. But what do I have to give to you? What do I have that I can show my love to you? I want to give you something today that you will never be able to conquer or attain by your own endeavors. The king said, this better be good. Because I don't think you can have anything. And then from her bag, she brought out a vegetable. No, she didn't. She brought out a fruit. And he said, a fruit? And then he looked closer. A fruit? That fruit looks very familiar. She said, this fruit, you don't know what this fruit is. He said, I think I know. She said, no, you don't. He said, is this the fruit of immortality? She said, yes. And then immediately in his mind, he began to realize, this fruit has come back to me. He said, where did you get it from? She said, I got it from the charioteer. He went to the charioteer. Where did you get it from? I got it from the queen. In that moment, Bhartṛhari sat down in his palace and he decided to write a poem. Vairagya Satakam. The 100 verses of detachment. He realized that in this life we give our heart to so many things. We give our hearts to efforts. We give our hearts to achieve certain things. We give our hearts to people. And often, although we give our heart to so many things, somehow or other, it never seems to be reciprocated fully. We give our love, but we never seem to receive that love back. The king gave his heart to the queen, but she didn't reciprocate. The queen gave her heart to the charioteer, but he didn't reciprocate. The charioteer gave his heart to the mistress, but she didn't reciprocate. And the mistress gave her heart to the king, and he was aghast. So the moral of the story is everyone in the room should give it all up and become a monk. No, it's not the moral of the story. Relax. It's not that strong. But there is a moral in the story. That in the world we look for love. But so often love is frustrated in the world. In the world, we look for reciprocation, we look for fulfillment, but we seem to do things and then we don't get the experience back that we're looking for. And so it's interesting that after Bhartṛhari wrote his 100 verses of detachment, it didn't stop there. Because the goal of life is not to be detached. The goal of life is to love. But first, to learn how to love properly, you have to be detached from the fleeting, superficial, physical, temporary type of relationship that we call love in this world. Yoga scriptures are all meant at allowing us to achieve the deepest connections. The word yoga means to link, to connect, union. And so all the yoga scriptures are ultimately aimed at allowing us to make a connection with the divine, and then to make a connection with other people in the deepest way, but a spiritual way in which we reciprocate love in a way that doesn't in any way disappoint us or eventually hurt us. And so it's said that there are different types of yoga system. Perhaps the most comprehensive book which talks about yoga in this world is a book called the Bhagavad Gita. And in this ancient book called the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, who's the speaker, explains that there are 4 main types of yoga. One type of yoga is known as karma yoga, which means the yoga of action. Another type of yoga is known as jnana yoga, which means the yoga of knowledge. Another type of yoga is known as the yoga, dhyana yoga, which is the yoga of meditation. And another type of yoga is known as bhakti yoga, or the yoga of love. Now these yogas, these yoga paths are outlined in the scriptures as an opportunity for us to achieve connection with the divine. In the world, people have many different names that they use to refer to that divine. Some people call him Allah, some people call him Jehovah. In our tradition, we call him Krishna. Some people have different conceptions of what that divine is. Whatever it may be, yoga is meant to connect with us, allow us to connect with that divine. So karma yoga is when we connect our daily activities and use those daily activities to factor in that presence of the divine. We work, but we work in consciousness of the divine, and that allows us to experience the divine. Jnana yoga means we learn about what that divine is, how they interact, how they have created this world, what is the dynamics by which that divine interacts with this world. And in that way, we bring a consciousness of the divine into our lives. But bhakti yoga, or the yoga of love, is the means by which we connect with the divine through opening our hearts, through song, through dance, through other creative arts, through writing, and through service, selfless service, we begin to connect with the divine. And the Bhagavad Gita explains that when we first connect with the divine, and then we begin to connect with everyone around us, seeing that divinity within them, then not only are we developing love for the divine, but our relationships here in this world are also infused with a deeper type of love, because now our connections are going beyond just a physical or an emotional connection, but along with the physical and emotional connection, we also have a spiritual connection with each other. Bhartṛhari, in his life, he realized, I had some love, but that love was only physical love. It was only emotional love. And therefore he developed a detachment that let me not just try to seek physical and emotional love in this life. Later on, after writing his 100 verses of detachment, he went on to develop divine love, spiritual love. He went on to realize that if I first connect with the divine, then I connect with everyone in connection with the divine, then my relationships will be much more rewarding, much more pleasing, and which will not be tainted by disappointment or letdown in my journey of life. Relationships can cause us the greatest happiness, and relationships can also cause us the greatest dejection. Some people are dreaming they'll fall in love. Some people are falling out of love. Some people are looking for love. Some people are lovesick. Somehow or other, the equation of love is something which seems so elusive in this world. And so the yoga scriptures are so beautiful because the yoga scriptures are not just scriptures of detachment. The yoga scriptures are scriptures of love. They're teaching us how to have the deepest connections. But deepest connections are based on the deepest identity. And therefore, the yoga scriptures introduce us to the spiritual identity. Because when we connect with that aspect of our being and others' being, then we can connect in the deepest way. And so, this is why we're here this evening. It's a time when, yes, we can disconnect from the world. It's a time where we can find some sacred space. It's a time where we can reflect away from the madness and chaos of life. But perhaps more important than any of that, it's a time here where we can try to achieve divine connection. Because when we direct the laser of our love into the diamond of divinity, then the laser of that love into the diamond of divinity will then allow that light to be diffused in all directions. And so when we make that divine connection, then all the rest of our connections in this world become very, very beautiful and very, very fulfilling. So thank you very much. These are some words I wanted to share with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very beautiful words. It's interesting because his name is Bhartṛhari.
Oh, okay.
The birds will sound to me. Oh, nothing. So thank you so much. Really beautiful reflections. We want to open the space also to you and to see if you have any thoughts or ideas or additions or questions about these topics or something more. This is the chat. So please, if you have any questions or something to share, you can.
Yes.
Would you like the mic? Or is it possible? No. You're far away.
Ik heb het zin in Swami, which way is the best way and the fastest way to meet God in this life?
Oh, wonderful. So I'll just repeat the question. Which is the best way and the fastest way to achieve connection with God? Yeah. You're not beating around the bush there. You're really getting to the... We have different senses. We have the eyes, the ears, the mouth, the sense of touch. And all of these senses are our vehicles to connect with the divine. So in our spiritual path, we use all of these senses. But it's said that of all the senses, the one that is always active is the ears. Because even when someone is sleeping, as soon as something is sounded, then the ears immediately catch it. Not just that, but sound is also said to be very, very powerful because sound is connected to our subconscious. So for example, if I would play one of your favorite songs from, I was going to say 20 years ago, but we'll say 10 because you're very young. If I was to play one of your favorite songs from a decade ago, then as soon as you would hear the song, so many memories would come back. So it's said in the Vedic tradition that the fastest and the quickest way to actually achieve divine connection is through the power of sound and through the faculty of oral reception. Sound allows us to awaken a consciousness that's so innate and so natural to us, but that has been covered over by years of illusions in the material world. And so mantra is very, very powerful. And so in this age that we're living in which spirituality is difficult, it's said that if we daily can spend time bathing our consciousness in spiritual sound, then that sound can actually awaken us and kind of help us to create that very tangible awareness of divinity in our life. And therefore, sound is probably the quickest and most effective way, and mantra particularly is said to be very, very powerful. And that's why when we share spirituality, we share philosophy, we share life techniques, we share so much that can help you on a day-to-day level. But perhaps of everything that we share with the world, the mantra is the most important. So therefore, oftentimes we even chant the mantra on the streets. You may have seen us. One time I was chanting in Scotland, in the north of England, and someone came up to me and he said, "I love you guys. You're always singing, you're always dancing, you're always happy, but I've just got one question. Don't you guys have any new songs?" So I was trying to explain to him that it's not exactly a song. This is a mantra. And although we're saying the same thing again and again, because it's a spiritual sound vibration which descends from another platform, when we connect with that sound, not just through the ears and the emotions, but with the core of our heart, then that sound enters into our heart and it conquers the courtyard of our heart, and it enlivens all of our senses with divine connection. So try it out. Thank you so much. Like the Beatles, George Harrison, John Lennon, once they were driving through India, and they recalled this story. They say, we got in the car and we started driving. I think they were driving from Rishikesh down somewhere. Anyway, they said we drove in the car for 8 hours and we chanted the Hare Krishna mantra non-stop. The Beatles. Interesting. Try it out. Yes.
Is it important that you are knowing what you are saying? But it's Sanskrit. Is it important that you know what you are saying?
Yeah.
Or is it important that you sing the mantra? Or is it enough that you listen to the mantra?
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. The mantra has a power whether you know it, the meaning of it or not. My own spiritual teacher, he was actually from Holland. So before he got in touch with the Krishna teachings, he was living in Holland with a partner. And she had a dog, and her dog's name was Krishna. But the interesting thing about this dog is that sometimes it would run out and disappear in the middle of the night. So as a dutiful partner, she would tell him, "Can you go out and find the dog?" So he would go out into the streets of Amsterdam saying, "Krishna, where are you?" I mean, it was interesting, you know. Krishna, where are you? Krishna, come home. Years later, he became a Hare Krishna monk. So clearly it had an effect. But the reason why we also tell you the meaning of the mantra is because when we're trying to sing, we're trying to really sing from the heart. We're trying to sing with some emotion. We're trying to sing, remember, bha, ra, ta, bhav, rag, and tal. So we want to sing the name with melody, with beats, very beautiful, but most important, with bhav, with emotion. Our teacher, Bhaktivedanta Swami, he said, when you chant a mantra, you should be like a child crying for the mother. So that's very beautiful, that desperation, that desire is so important. So yeah, we want to chant with that real sincerity. And so sometimes knowing the mantra will help, the meanings. But otherwise, some people can just do it without even knowing the intricate meanings if they're able to open their hearts. The cry of the soul. Nowadays, I'm traveling on planes like regularly, so I always try to get the emergency seat because, as you can see, I'm a bit oversized. So I usually get the emergency seats nowadays, but there's one dangerous thing about emergency seats in airplanes. You know what that is? Yeah, you get the explanation from the air stewards at the beginning. That's a bit annoying, but yeah. No, the dangerous thing about emergency seats is it's great because you get leg room, but it's dangerous because that's where all the babies hang out. So once I was on a flight to Cairo and I got the emergency seat and no one was around me, I thought, this is great, this is like amazing. I got all this space to myself. Anyway, the door was just about to close and then all these people came in last minute and they all sat around me. And then there was a baby. And it was a baby which was on top form. And that baby didn't need any mic. That baby could cry. And that baby could cry loud. I was thinking like, oh my God, this is going to be such a long flight. And it was, And then I remembered my teacher said, you should cry like the baby cries for the mother. So I put my hands on my prayer beads. And every time the baby cried, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I just tried to cry from the heart. I just tried to say the mantra from the heart as the baby was crying. And then the baby cried again and I said the mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate. And it was actually very beautiful. I wouldn't do it again. I'd still avoid the babies. But for that flight, it was beautiful because I learned, yes, we have to do it from the heart. So anyway, sorry, that was a long-winded answer, but yeah, we don't need to. It's powerful, just the vibration. But if we know the meaning, we can do it from a deeper space, so it helps. Is that okay? Wonderful.
Yeah, I had a question. I wonder, with all your knowledge, can you detach from everything? What's the problem? But you just told that even when baby cried, you have to say the mantra.
Yeah, you still get, even the monks get affected by it. So you're saying, how do you get detached? Is it possible to get detached from everything in the world? Yeah. For us, detachment from the world happens naturally when we develop more spiritual attachment to the eternal reality. Say, for example, when someone walks, then all the weight is on the back foot. But then what happens is as you put your front foot there and you touch it down, and then what you do is you start to step forward. Then as you put more weight on this foot, then what happens? The weight comes off the back foot. And so for us, we don't try to force ourselves to like be detached from this world. But what we try to do is we try to focus on the eternal reality. We try to focus on divinity. We try to focus on the essence, the spiritual essence of life. And as we become more and more enchanted, more and more fascinated, more and more absorbed by the reality which is much beyond and much bigger than this world, then what happens is all the things in this world and all the ups and downs and all the difficulties and all the things which frustrate us and all the things that we cry about, it becomes more and more, less and less significant.
Okay, so the suffering is gone even when other people do things to you, you can detach from it.
Yeah, one English writer says, in this world, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. So in this world, we'll all go through difficulties. The world is wired in that way. What I sometimes tell people is that the world is perfectly imperfect. The imperfection of the world is a special design, because the imperfection of the world is pushing us to look for perfection beyond the imperfection. The imperfection of the world is inspiring us to try to reconnect with that place where there is no imperfection. The famous Christian writer C.S. Lewis said something beautiful. He said, if I find in myself a desire which no experience of this world can fulfill, I must conclude I was made for another world. So, like once they did a survey to find out the top ways in which people relax in this world. And you want to know what the top 4 answers were? Number 1, to relax, I go on holiday. Number 2, to relax, I go to sleep. Number 3, to relax, I watch a movie. And number 4, to relax, I take intoxication. What do those 4 activities have in common? To go on holiday, to go to sleep, to take intoxication, to watch a movie.
Distraction. Escape.
They're all an escape. When you go on holiday, you forget. When you take intoxication, you forget. When you watch a movie, you forget. And when you go to sleep, you forget. But when you go to sleep, you have to wake up. When you go on holiday, you have to come back. When you watch a movie, it ends. And when you take intoxication, there's the morning after, the night before. So it's very interesting that everyone is actually trying to escape this world. Because if I find in myself a desire which no experience of this world can fulfill, I must conclude I was made for another world. So that's what we're all trying to do. And then when we connect with that other world, this world, one of my monk teachers, he said, don't take the illusion too seriously. It's easier said than done, isn't it? Because tomorrow morning when you're on the road and someone, cuts in front of you, a little bit of road rage happens in the car there, and then you don't remember. But as we become more absorbed, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, when we see that divinity in all times, place, and circumstances, that's why the greatest spiritualists have so much levels of tolerance, compassion, because they're absorbed. Thank you so much. I don't know how long. Okay, yeah, sure.
Thank you for being here and can I ask you a question? I wonder if a strong mind, negative mind, can fool, in this case me, by singing the mantra, Maha mantra. He just like the strong mind takes the coat on from the mantra and sings now the mantra. And I'm bothered by that because I wake up in the night with the mantra. And I like to sing the mantra from my heart. And I can only do that when I'm in the kirtan. But at home, when I do the mala, it drives me crazy. So I thought my negative mind, my saboteur, takes on the coat now of the mantra. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
how to stop it and to come down from out of my head into my heart and then open up and do the mantra.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's very nice. Yeah. Yeah, so much of the Bhagavad Gita is talking about the mind, because the mind is what we're contending with every single day. The mind cannot actually do anything because the mind is not actually alive. The mind is like software on a computer. So, for example, the body is like the hardware of a computer, like the monitor, the keyboard. We, the soul, we're like the person sitting behind the computer. And the software is like the mind. So the mind is the interface between the soul and the body. Now, for most of us, the software of our mind has a few viruses in it. So it's almost like it's not cooperating with the user. It's acting against us. It's slowing us down. It's distracting us. It's constantly pop-ups, all this kind of stuff. Yeah. So the idea is that as we chant the mantra more and more, sometimes it's easier. For example, in a kirtan where you can naturally connect. When you go home and do it alone, generally that's the time when it's much more difficult, because you're not surrounded by all of these other energies here which help to carry each other. The other thing is when you chant the mantra on the beads, there's no music, there's no drums, there's no singer with a beautiful voice, and therefore there's nothing else to pacify the mind. And therefore, because we don't have that energy of the others and we don't have those other pacifications of the mind, it's just the raw mantra, the mind tends to rebel more. Rebel. I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah. So the mind becomes a little distracted. One of the monks told me, when I meditate on the mantra on the beads, my mind is like a horror movie. I was like, wow. So it's a little bit like that. But what happens is over time, the mind settles. It's like a tiger, like a lion. In the beginning, it's roaring. But as you continue the mantra, then gradually it becomes more and more pacified.
Okay.
So mantra meditation is a process. It's a day-to-day discipline. Some people have a very romantic idea of meditation, like I'll sit with my legs crossed, I'll close my eyes, I'll chant the mantra, soon I'll be floating, I'll disconnect. And sometimes it's not always like that. It's a little bit of a battle. But eventually the mind comes in line and it cooperates and it becomes aligned. So therefore, yeah, it's meditation is a practice. Good luck tomorrow morning.
One last question.
Yeah, if there's any last question you would like to ask.
So I've got, I work with a lot of youngsters, and a lot of my youngsters seem to have lost their way, are constantly trying to keep their mind busy, away from the path that they're actually intended to walk. What is the one thing that you would, what is the one bit of advice that you would give these youngsters who seem to have lost their way? That's basically my question.
Yeah, because in terms of being so distracted.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, they say we live in an age where there are weapons of mass distraction. Mass destruction and mass distraction also. The humans officially have the record now. Previously it was the goldfish, but now humans hold the record for having the shortest attention span, a grand total of 7 seconds. One person said, first we were nowhere, and then we advanced and we came somewhere. Then technology came about, now we're everywhere. But now when we use technology, we're always elsewhere. And because we're always elsewhere, practically we're nowhere. We went from nowhere to somewhere to everywhere to being elsewhere. When you're on holiday, you're planning your work. When you're at work, you're planning your holiday. When you're here, you're planning what you'll do tomorrow. Tomorrow, you're thinking about what you did last week. So we're always elsewhere, and therefore we're practically nowhere. How do we live in the present? How do we embrace the moment? So what we encourage people to do is have a time in the day, every single day, when you disconnect from the world. When I was traveling in India, I met one yogi, and he said to me, every year, disconnect for 1 month. Every week, disconnect for 1 day. And every day, disconnect for 1 hour. And then he looked at me and he said, disconnect to connect.
Yeah.
And I was like, you should be on TEDx. It's good. I try to do that even till today. Because sometimes you just need to disconnect from the world. But problem is with people nowadays is that they don't have any space away from the bombardment of data. You know, they say every single day, do you know how much data the average person processes? 70 gigabytes of data. That is like, that's enough to fill up your iPhone. That's how much data we're being bombarded by every single day. And therefore we're constantly distracted because there's always something which is moving us. Another study at King's College said when you're distracted, your IQ drops by 15 points. And for most people, if their IQ drops 15 points, that means going from adult consciousness to kid consciousness. And therefore, if you wonder why people make such impulsive and irrational decisions in the world, it's often because they're so distracted that their IQ has dropped and they can't think properly. So what we tell people every single day is spend some time away from being bombarded by the world out there. So for example, when we wake up as monks, then we make a vow for the first hours of the day, no devices. Not just that, we don't even have conversations with people. Not just that, we don't try to even plan what we're going to do in that day. Because first you have to deal with the inner world and then enter the outer world. So stillness and solitude is something which is fast disappearing. And that's a culture which we try to bring back through spirituality. People today are afraid of solitude because they think solitude or being alone means loneliness. But being alone And being in solitude is actually incredibly energizing, helps you to be creative, helps you to shift your perspectives. So it's such a beautiful thing. So yeah, that's what we have to try to inspire people to do, to try it out. And so like we take young people on like experiments like detox, digital detox. You know, like for the first hour when we tell people to put away their phones, they're like withdrawal symptoms, you know. And by the end of the weekend, they realized I can do it. We take them to spaces, we take them to places, we take them to, you know, different habitats where they can begin to appreciate yet that there's more than this urban jungle. There's more. It's a big world and there's more to it than that. So I think giving people these experiences is beautiful. So yeah, you can try that out. Nice to hear a British accent. Where are you from? Where are you from?
I'm from the Netherlands.
Oh, okay, that's not a British accent. Oh, you're a teacher of English. Wow. You have fully imbibed the English language. That's amazing. You sound really British. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone. Pleasure to be with you. Wishing you the best.